Hey, IDS 302. I know this is early and I'm hitting you with these videos and announcements and emails and such. And I apologize, sort of, but I want to make sure that I'm trying to help you get through this the best you can. And I figure the most efficient way would be if I actually post the second video early, because there's some things I wanted to say about step one and then consequently step two. So let's get right into it. Again, deadlines, due dates for videos, not getting deducted. I appreciate you watching them. Technically, they're not optional. And so some people that are not watching them are missing out on, class time, so to speak, right? So let's get right into it. So this is considered the module two, number two video. And frankly, I have no Easter eggs yet, so I got to get some and to avoid what I did last time. All right. Step one, I scored everyone step one who turned it in. Okay. I scored the most recent version and I just finished. I left you comments. Okay. I was going to leave comments and not score it, but then I thought, people aren't really going to gauge what it is that they need to fix and why. And I admit right here that I was punitive on the scoring only to get your attention on some of the important factors that you may have missed. For example, if you didn't do the sections, I dinged you 25 or 30 or something because the sections are important. And I know that was my mistake, which I apologize for. And I posted the better sample, but the sections are in the instructions. Another one was the works cited list, or some called reference list. That's fine. It needs to start at the top of the first blank page, and it needs to be in hanging paragraphs. If you don't know what that is, find out, okay? Or contact me or Google it, whatever. It's not just a regular paragraph. Hanging paragraphs, double line spaced, no line gaps between the entries, alphabetized. Okay. So I know we kind of whip through these things and I do talk about them. I have them in the checklist for step two, but I want to make sure you catch these things. Okay. I mentioned as much as I could. Now I got real detailed. You may hate that or you may love that. I don't know. For me, I just can't kind of stroll by. And if there's things that don't have spaces between them, things that have too many spaces, from that small, I identified it for you, okay, to look for. It goes with the disciplined nature of scholarly writing and editing, and so you should pay attention to those formatting things. A few of you got 100 points, and man, I was blown away. It was phenomenal. Those that scored high on the first try, great. You got it. You might have had me in 301, so you knew what to look for and what to do. Very impressed. Others, no matter what your score is, I don't care if it was 40, 60, 80, whatever. I told you in there that you can resubmit that, tweak it, fix it, modify it, turn it in by midnight tomorrow on Wednesday, and I'll rescore it based on the 100-point scale. And you should be, really flying high with your score if you make those adjustments. Also, if you do have any trouble with any assignment, like I said, you notify me before it's due and tell me that can I get an extra 24 hours on this? Can I turn this in, X amount of time? I appreciate that. We all have busy lives. We're all living in this quote new normal, but I'm ready to work with you, but you got to work with me, okay? So if you're not, doing those things, then I'm just thinking that the kind of the care level of this course is kind of down. A priority level of your course is low. Remember, it's a hard course. I'm expecting to see a lot of people make evaluations say, boy, it was too much work. It was way too much for 6 weeks. Shouldn't be taught in 6 weeks. Trust me, we know that, okay? We do the best we can, but we offer this in a 6-week summer course so that you can get through it and get what you need to move on in your careers and your life and get your degree. All right. So it's not going to be a 6-week course. It's a 15-week course down to 6 weeks. Again, do the math. It's not intentional that I'm trying to be really hard on anybody. I just I want you to be able to step up your game and feel good about it at the end, saying, I did this. As I mentioned, I think in an email or announcement, you're on the inside now. You've been welcomed. Then when you graduate, Dr. Crow will say that to you. Welcome to the world, into the world of scholars and academics, things like that. But you're in it now that you're learning this, and so I don't want you to feel like you're on the sidelines watching, your disciplines, your concentrations go by. You're on the inside of those right now. Okay. So think of yourself that way. Think of yourself as a researcher. So some of the things that I want to talk about besides the rescore, let me just do Easter egg number one. And we'll call it no absolutes, because I want to talk about that. What are absolutes? Like never, always, everything, okay? Proof is an absolute, okay? You shouldn't be using those words, all right? Because you really can't say everyone or always or I'm going to find, that's why in your research question, when I mentioned you can't tweak it, without getting dinged. What are some of the, notice I didn't say what are the opinions, perceptions, and experiences. I said, what are some of the, because you're not going to claim you're going to find them all, right? Claiming some of them. So we're being very literal here. Okay. Some of the experiences regarding marijuana revealed in a survey. Again, you're mentioning what your methodology and design is, or your design survey, and you're not saying a survey of marijuana growers, you're saying a survey of random adults. So within that question, from the sum of the to the survey regarding, you can keep it in a way that you're being humble. Again, don't exaggerate, don't use hyperbole, uh, because there's a sense of that being, uh, presumptuous or being whatever I'm calling a little hyperbolic. Humble. Researchers are humble. Okay. And I had a link. Doggone it. I didn't have it yet. I should try to find it. I was talking about some research about COVID-19, and there was a great thread of an epidemiologist who wanted to get conversation going among other scientists. And I just kind of horned in and watched this thing take place, this thread. And they were talking about, okay, he estimates over 50% of the transmission of cases has been through aerosols. In fact, aerosols, which is the tiny, tiny drops that can linger in an inside closed, non-circulated room for up to hours. Whereas the droplets are what comes out when you talk, cough, sneeze, and they're heavier and they drop quicker, and you need to be in direct contact with those. Much less transmission, and then touching things and getting them to your eye, mouth, whatever, is much more rare and maybe as low as 5% of the transmittable cases. Again, they don't have the evidence of it. They're not claiming they do, but they're starting to look at data, right? Just like you guys will. Look at data that kind of starts to inform them. It doesn't prove anything, it informs them. All right. It appears that, these are good words to use in research. It appears that, or seemingly, or could reflect. Those are things you can see the difference in saying that this reflects, this makes it, this. So if you're using words like should, you're showing bias. Okay. You're saying what it should be. Has no place in research, right? Maybe I just use absolute, saying it has no place in research, but it's very rare, right? So you want to stay away from absolutes, all right? And you want to step back as the researcher and observe your data, analyze your data, and that's why we keep ourselves out of it. No I, me, my. Just stay away from pronouns. No us, no we. Okay, that's the best advice I can give you on that. All right. Um, so looking at your step one, redo it. It'll be great. I mean, I'm really happy with what you all came up with. Overall, most people just might have an issue with the formatting or the lack of sections, which again, the lack of sections is kind of on me. And that's why I extended this to Wednesday, not to try to squeeze your class even more, but to give everybody an opportunity so that when you do get to that final paper, of which this is a part of, you're not starting off with, a really weak start and then, oh, it's good after that. I wanted to see that. So, and if you have any questions, comments, concerns, complaints, you get with me. I've exchanged emails with many students in this class. Okay. I've had a couple of phone calls. I think it's in a positive way moving forward. Um, so just keep that up. I'm willing, I'm open, I mean, flexible. It's a short course. There's a lot going on. So just work with me. Okay. And it should work out. All right. So I did say that was Easter egg number one. I better mark that. Okay. Uh, let's see what else I want to do. Because and again, as far as my schedule, it's just rough right now. Starting this afternoon, I'm only going to have a little bit of time. maybe on Thursday evening, afternoon, uh, and Friday morning. Other than that, I leave here. I got to load up Friday. I'm working hard on that. Leaving here Saturday, may drive straight through as far as I can to Arizona. So I'll be should be back online sometime Monday or back available sometime Monday. That's a ways to go. But if you need something Thursday evening, my time, Central Time right now, but we go by Arizona time, or Friday morning, just let me know. Okay, and even pockets of other time that I have. Okay, so let's just go with that. Let's just talk about. So I said Easter egg number one, no absolutes. Let's go Easter egg number two, eliminate bias. And again, I'm not looking at or scoring it as if I would, a grad school research or something like that. So it's going to be kind of light. I mean, there are areas where, I'm just going to tell you where that bias is so that you can make the change. All right. Again, if you have a sentence that you cannot get yourself out of, you call it the current researcher. That's who you are, the current researcher and the current research, current study. Whenever you talk about that, that means talking about your own research. Um, let's see. I don't have as many notes as I always have because I really wanted to get this out before people started seeing, a score of 60 and going, what the heck? All right. So let's just keep moving forward here. In terms of step two, let's touch on that real quick. Step two, I have the checklist there, kind of a checklist of the formatting. All right. Now remember, I do offer you the link to Purdue OWL, if not just Google Purdue OWL APA, and you'll come up with a plethora of examples that you can use for your own paper. Okay. You'll find exactly what you need in there. All right. It's like a reference. Also, I wanted to mention about long quotes. You should avoid long quotes, and a long quote is anything over 39 words. Because A, they need to be formatted differently. If you want to get into it, I'm going to ding you for it if it's over 39 words. Okay, it has to be blocked. The citation is completely different. All right. So I would stay away from quotes that are 40 or more words. Break it apart. Use what you need, especially in papers that aren't that long individually here. They take up a lot of space and they take your Turnitin score and they make it really high, like 50% is other work. That's not a good look. All right, so you follow me on that? I know I'm probably talking fast too. I don't know why. Sorry about that. Okay, so step two, it's going to be due Sunday, right? Now remember, I don't get back into Phoenix till Monday. I probably won't even look at these till Tuesday. So if you need the extra day or so, it's up to you to email me before Sunday night to tell me that. Okay, that way I have a record and I can, waive late fees, stuff like that. So, but again, it's up to you. All right, let's see. So step two, you're justifying an interdisciplinary approach. What meaningful questions can you ask about the issue problem? Remember, those questions are for you or for about the topic. They're not questions for a survey, okay? So keep that apart. You want to ask, what makes them meaningful. So you want to get into those. And anytime you see something in these steps or instructions, it's always good idea, pro tip for anything in academia, to kind of echo what's being asked. Use similar words, the exact word in your response. That way, your instructor professor can look at it and say, "Oh yeah, they're talking about." I asked them about an analysis, and they put analysis. I asked them about what makes these questions meaningful, and they said these questions are meaningful because. Okay, that's a really a good tip for me to say, "Wow, this person was on the ball and read the instructions." Okay. Um, So while I say they could be rhetorical and such, and you really won't answer them here, you answer them because you mention them because it makes this again a legitimate interdisciplinary question topic. So you're taking step one now, which you introduced your topic and you looked at some of those two extra steps, and now you're moving it into more specific. Okay. Um, and the three subsections in this step include interdisciplinary justification, which is the main step two. Assumption of the study. You can include a hypothesis. This is where you could have your bias that the study proposes to find that or to support that blah blah blah. That's your hypothesis, which you can talk about at the end. Did you affirm your hypothesis? Did you challenge it? Did you justify it? Did you Is it wrong? Okay, compared to what you saw. And then limitations of the study. All right, now again, what I'm going to show you in the sample, and I'm checking the sample this time. I thought I checked it last time, and you know what? I think I did, but my mind was so frazzled that I forgot that there were sections. Come on, I'm trying to put this sample in here, and there it is. Okay, let's see what we got. Tanner sample 2. Yes, interdisciplinary justification, assumptions of the study, limitations of the study. Wow, this thing really rocked it. And a works cited. She only had 3 works cited here. They were good ones. All right, well, not really. She used Tanner in this one too. Not a big fan of using Tanner. It's a textbook. It should be a bunch of source. But you can tell the paper's really good. Okay, again, undergrad students, it's fine. I'm not, we're not submitting these for being published, right? But I want you to use it as a guide. You can use this as a guide. I don't care if your paper looks exactly like this, as long as the composition is yours. Okay, that's a good tip right there, right? And to take a look at, like she italicizes her hypotheses. I have no problem with that. It's a very organized sample. Take a look at it. All right. As far as works cited goes, I like to see at least 3 in this one. Okay. If you want to go more, great. You'll be rewarded if you use them. Okay. One thing now that reminds me of from your papers in step 1, you make sure that works cited list, whatever's in there, you used it somewhere up here in the paper and you cited it correctly. Conversely, whatever you use up here in your in-text citations, you have down in the research, in the reference list, the works cited list, exactly. So if you use Smith up here, but down here it says the Hobbit, or whatever. I'm just joking, but it's a name of something. Well, maybe that was Smith, but there's no connection. It should be Smith down there too, and the title of the work. So be careful that you're mirroring what you have in your in-text to what you have in your paper. And that's a challenge for some and a piece of cake for others. And it was a challenge for me, and I got through it. You will too. Okay, so let's go further. So again, step 2, you'll ask me if you have any questions. Taking a look at that list I gave you about the checklist about the formatting, I think you should be well on your way. All right. In terms of this thing, right? I said 6, 7, and 8, right? Just going to do a quick skim on this because I know you've got things to do, and I want you to read this. Also, there's that quiz 2. Don't forget that. So you're going to talk about research methods, your research questions, lit review. We're not doing a lit review. We're going to do an annotated bibliography for step 3, but I want you to read this because these are parts of research. All right, these are parts, and because Tanner is so focused on integrative research, it's important to us as we conceptualize how we look at the world, how we look at the problems, how we look at the things that we're going to be doing with this academic experience, right? So take a look at these different types of research because I'm going to ask you to use some of this terminology in a discussion board coming up about your and also, I'm sorry, I think it's in the quiz where you want to talk about using some of this type of research. I want specifics. So if your quiz question about your dream research just says, well, I want to really, study climate change and why it's happening. I mean, if you don't give me any research terminology, it's going to get dinged severely. This is, remember, I had to tell my son this, who's an honor student. You don't come to college, university, and just, it's not a venue for you to show what you've learned and apply it. That's only half of it. Now you got to come up with open-minded to learn the new things and to apply those, right? Because that's what university is. It isn't just show me what you can do and I'll give you a degree. It's learn and apply. So if you're not, you should be learning from these terminology here on research, okay? Then chapter 7, and also you'll see the Institutional Review Board and the ethics mentioned in here, which is important. It reminds me about capitalization in your papers and things. Remember, it's just the disciplines. It's literal capitalization when you use them as a discipline. Some of these things aren't disciplines. Artificial intelligence is not a discipline. It's a concept, it's a definition, it's a description of something. It's not a discipline, all right? Unless you can send me a link showing me it is. I mean, it might be at some college, but I'd rather not. Whereas psychological and sociological are not disciplines. Psychology and sociology are. You see the difference, okay? So just watch your capitalism. Don't randomly capitalize. Don't capitalize just because you think, well, I better capitalize and be on the safe side. It's not a capital. If it's not a proper noun, it's going to get dinged. Okay. So I'm glad we had this thing with. Honestly, usually on step one, I give everybody a chance to do it again, anyways, because that way I get you in line with scholarly writing. And instead of being mad, which you could be mad, thinking what's wrong with this guy, think of it as you're, stepping up your game in terms of your writing. Okay, there's no shame in being able to write academically, scholarly. Okay, and I hope I can introduce that to you by showing you ways and being I'm open to corrections and things like that. All right. So look at this now because chapter 7 is important. It's talking about interdisciplinary research. Very important chapter to read as you get a perspective. He talks about Petrie here. He mentions Petrie is the one that had that those kind of optical illusions things. Do you see what I see? Do you see the old lady or the young one with the choker or the old lady, with the crooked nose? Um, because that's the way we look at disciplines. What are we seeing when we talk about music? Are we seeing the mathematics of it? Are we seeing the sound vibration of it? There's all different ways. So we have to keep that in mind when we're looking at a particular problem and trying to think of it in terms of the disciplines that can be used for analysis, right? Um, Okay. Now here, students often make the mistake of listing too many disciplines or disciplines that have no relevance to a particular problem. It's an important point. Now, I'm going to ask you to stretch your imagination on a discussion board or something coming up, which I don't care about this rule. You can break it all you want. Because, like I said, because you need to be stretched so you're able to see what the boundaries might be. That, oh, yeah, I might use electrical engineering in this problem, but actually it's probably not as appropriate. You're reaching for it. So we're going to do a thinking outside the box exercise, right? Okay, cognitive maps. There's a cognitive mapping is pretty much in 301 a lot, whereas you're mapping out the disciplines that you're going to use. So many of you that took 301 in particular course class with a particular instructor maybe have experience with mapping. That's a good thing to know. Again, to conceptualize the problem that you're trying to solve. All right. So there's conditions for integration because some things aren't worthy of integration. Some things are. Read this well. Again, mentioning Klein and Repko, you should know that Klein, Repko, Newell are kind of the founding fathers, or I don't want to say go that far, but they're really important people in this field. Okay, they've developed a lot of the uh, steps, and then Tanner developed his own based on them. Okay, uh, so we got that. Let's see. And that is chapter 7. Chapter 8, methods of integration. So here we go. There's knowledge transfer, types of transfer, mechanisms of transfer. Short chapter, but it's mostly about transfer, all right? About how we kind of integrate the actual act of integration. Remember, we talked about interdisciplinary is a field, interdisciplinary studies, uh, but integration is the act, the process of doing it, okay? So I think we're good. Let me just guess a Easter egg number 3, and then I can get you rolling. This isn't due for a while, like I said, but some of you, except for my timing, the way my week is, come on, where's my mouse? There it is. My mouse wasn't moving. My pointer, what do you want to call it? Okay, so let's do Easter egg number 3, and just going to make it easy because I've emphasized so much. Let's go with forks up, okay? I'm going to write that one down. And I think I've got them all. Oh, one last thing. There is a link that I got off Twitter from a professor from somewhere talking about, it's called the Blue Book Diaries, bluebook.life. He's got an article here posted Thursday, April 2nd, 2020, The Liberal Arts, the People, and the Pandemic. It's a good thing I shared with some colleagues. Talks about the liberal arts, and it reminded me so much of what we do in terms of interdisciplinary integrative work and how things are changing and how we have to have the STEM and the science. Obviously, it's a pandemic, but let's take a look at the liberal arts, the other the humanities in terms of what this pandemic means. It's going to be challenging for all of us. So I think that's about it. Let me get up. Oh, I'm having pizza tonight. Have a good one, you guys. Take care. Peace.